guys, this is Maregaal here, and today I want to talk about something unique that you may not be aware of, and it is talking about the capital offense crimes of ancient Israel during the theocracy days, the theocratic monarchy. Gotta remember, in case you don't understand, a king ruled over Israel, and a king like during the 12 tribes, which is Saul, David, and Solomon. Then after that, the 12 tribe kingdom, according to scripture, was divided, 10 on the north and 2 on the south. And they were both kind of, according to scripture, if you're going to use the scripture, they were both theocratic type kingdoms. One was more looser than the other. And so the kings rule, like let's just use Judah, the kings ruled based on Torah law. And that was the foundation of the law of their kingdom. So it was a theocratic monarchy. So not only was it based on religious law, but their spiritual welfare was based on obeying the Torah as well. But within this law code, there was a few, excuse me for a minute, just moving the chair here. But there was a few commandments. If broken, it resulted in a capital offense. Where, like, say, I live here in America, in Arkansas, but it's all the same in everywhere in America, and a lot of places across the globe, that a lot of people will break these particular commandments where God would see it, or at least the Torah would see it as a capital offense, and you'd be in big old trouble, okay? Especially if you lived back then. So it's kind of interesting that a lot of people will frown on the Islamic faith, like in Iran, because it's a theocracy there. Well, if they have a problem with Iran, just wait till the Mashiach comes, the Jewish Messiah, because his law is not done away with, not the Mosaic law. This is the real one. This is why, Jewish people look at Paul and it's like, his whole premise is false. The Messiah doing away with the law, when the Messiah, the Jewish Messiah, when he comes, the Jewish Mashiach, when he comes, every kingdom and nation has a law. The Mashiach's kingdom will be the law of El, that El gave unto Moses for the children of Israel to keep. That will be the foundation of the Mashiach's law. So it's absurd to say it was done away with. Okay? So the Torah is the Mashiach's law of his kingdom. So anyway, these capital offense crimes, if someone commits a certain act, it results in a death penalty, and you are in big old trouble. So what some of these are, now on top of my head, I was writing them down. I could come up with like 24 on my own. And it's just not like doing the idle deal. So it's actually quite a bit more. And those could be like, it's life in the Torah law itself does not hold every scenario life throws at it, okay? It throws at you. So there will be oral laws along the way, like say if something does not exist, like say in America back in 1776, but it does now, you have to accommodate what's going on in the present. So life and laws get built up naturally. So in the same way, when the kingdom, like Judah, when starting from David all the way to the last one, Zedekiah, the laws built up because new circumstances appeared. And so, same way, like they didn't have photography back then, they didn't have internet, didn't have cars, they didn't have radio and things like that. So, blah, blah, blah. So you can add to the law. I mean, New Testament people might say, oh, you can't add or subtract. Actually, you can, because in the Torah itself, it says Moses gave this decree and standard. If something is not known, and the judges are can't figure it out, so you shall go to the priest, blah blah blah. That's at the tabernacle. At that point, it was at the tabernacle. Now it would be at the temple, if the temple is still around. But anyway, they'll inquire of the Lord there, and you get your answer that way. And so it's an add-on. So you can add to the law, as long as it doesn't nullify the existing law. It has to. What's the proper word? It has to build up on it, not delete it altogether. So, what are some of the commandments and situations that would deserve a death penalty, or it's a capital offense crime in ancient Judea? And so I kind of wrote them down on paper. It's in the car actually, but I just took a screenshot of my stuff and I got it on the screen so I could read it, and I could break some of that stuff down. So I have on this notepad, let me see, I think I have 25. I know I'm missing some, but it's hard to figure it out because it just doesn't, the Torah we got today simply does not, I went too far. Let's see. Where am I at? There we are. Anyway, it simply does not have like the Code of Hammurabi. It's real simple. You just all the laws in one place. And the Torah, they skip around everywhere. They got a big chunk of them from Exodus 20 to the end of 24. Then like Leviticus 18 to 20, there's a big chunk. Then Deuteronomy, there's a big chunk over here, blah, blah, blah. And so you got stuff like that. Like Leviticus 11 is the diet laws, the kosher laws, what's kosher and unkosher and things like that. So trying to find the worst crimes that a person could commit in the Torah, you have to study it, read it through, write it down. And so starting with number 1 on my list, I didn't break it down like the worst of the worst, I suppose, but it starts up there with the worst ones. And so here we go. I have at least 25. I know I'm not thinking of all of them because I had 26 before on another list somewhere, and I put it on the internet, but I can't seem to find it, nor in my notes. But anyway, I'll put it together. I'll put what I have in the description down below so you can see them. But number 1 is, first of all, you have to have a theology first, okay? Now I'm going to break off into Christianity in a minute. So, because it all applies, others are kind of obvious, but other cultures and stuff. But number 1 is you must not have any other God, okay? Period of all period. We believe in pure monotheism. Okay, one God, he's a spirit, that's it. There is no family up there. He has no son. Sorry to shock you Christian folks, but you'll never, like if you look at the word, I have to break off, okay, because it applies to this. And if you look up the word son in all of the Old Testament, in the concordance, like Strong's Concordance, it really doesn't matter. You will not find anywhere that God has a personal son, not a heavenly son, especially the New Testament version where he has one only begotten son. That's it. And you won't find any of that. It's just not mentioned. Now, the times you read the word son in scriptures, like he will be my son and I'll become his father, like in several times in the Chronicles in Psalm 2, that is referring to Solomon, and the Chronicles define Psalm 2. Okay, now the King James Version, verse 12 of Psalm 2, it says, kiss the son. That doesn't say son there, okay? It's the word is bar in Hebrew. However, it's a whole Hebrew psalm. I have to break off for a minute. It's a whole Hebrew psalm. I'm getting to a point. But however, when they get to verse 12, Christians will deliberately take this Hebrew word, which means pure. You see it in other verses of the Psalms. It says, the law of the Lord is pure, or bar, and lighting up the eyes. So the word is pure. So it basically means pay homage with purity, or bow down with, humiliate yourself humble yourself with purity of heart, basically, lest the Lord be angry and his wrath will flare up in a moment, something like that. So the word bar there means pure. It's a Hebraic word. However, Christians give it the Aramaic meaning, which means son. But it's not a son where it's crossbred of Aramaic and Hebrew. It's pure Hebrew. So that's, and there's a list of quite a few Christian Bibles out there, at least over 10 of them, that give the rendering kiss the son when that doesn't exist there. So point being, we believe in one pure monotheistic God. That's it. No heavenly family, no son. Now the problem is with Christians, if this was the old theocratic, and what I just say earlier, the what did I say? Monarchy, theocratic monarchy, Christians would be in trouble because they deem this man named Jesus to be God. Well, that'd be another God, and so they'd be pushing the capital offense crime right there, okay? Because you're now having this dude saying he's God when he wasn't. So other gods like Zeus, Apollo, things like that, that's obvious, like that. So anybody who has another god, serves another god, that's a death penalty. It's a capital offense, okay? That's the first one. So that's why I needed to break all that down, okay? So number 2 would be anybody who sacrifices his child to Moloch or any other god. Okay, that's you'll see that in the Torah. It says basically in a nutshell, anybody sacrifices a son or daughter to Moloch, blah blah blah, he's put him to death. That's a big no-no because you're worshiping another god. Number 3 is breaking the Sabbath or Shabbat. And a lot of people just don't know what day that is, especially in the Christian world, trying to understand our culture, and they'll put their own spin on it. There is no spin, okay? When El, the God of Israel, gave a law way back in the day on Mount Sinai, it was a precise time. Not like what you see with people on the street or in churches. It could be any time, or it's on Sunday. No, none of that. It's on a precise time. Like you can see now, the sun is starting to go down behind me. Let me see. I don't know if you can flip it here. But you can see the sun is starting to go down behind me. Anyway, I don't know if you saw it or not, but if I flipped it enough. But anyway, the sun is about to go down. And so when the sun is totally set on Friday, when the sun is totally set, like my hand's the sun, when it's totally set, like now, gone, that's when Sabbath starts, right? But you should probably stop, like if this is the whole sun, you should probably stop working right there. And there's a Jewish custom, stop 18 minutes before, and that's fine, you can do that, but just don't make it law. It's just kind of safeguard, because it could be cloudy and whatever. So anybody who breaks the Sabbath, so if you're have the whole day wrong, like you work on, so it goes from our 24 hours goes from Friday sundown. Hold on. So anyway, a helicopter is flying over. I had to pause. You might still hear it, but so I'm sorry for the clicking. I got the microphone in my ears using earbuds. Anyway, so our 24 hours starts at sundown and ends at sundown. It's always better to wait when it's at the end of the Sabbath. Wait till it gets really dark so you start seeing the stars out. Then you know for sure Sabbath is over. So if you break Sabbath, like do any type of work or any type of business or do cooking, kindle a fire on Shabbat, you're in trouble. Now there's a guy who went out to pick up sticks. I believe it's Numbers chapter 15. He went to pick up sticks on Sabbath. Does not say what it's for. If it's like out to fix his hut or little personal tabernacle, is for fire to stay warm. Doesn't say, didn't care. But he was stoned to death for doing that. So also says in Exodus, I believe, do not kindle a fire on the Sabbath day. Your slaves cannot work that day, because back in the day they had real genuine slaves like you'd see in the South back in the day. Not just the ones who were paying off a debt. That stirs up the Christian people. But that's the reality of the biblical text. We had genuine slaves. You can look that up in Leviticus 25. But it says, and your slaves must rest as well, and all your animals. So you cannot break Sabbath. If you do, that's a capital offense. So number 4 is dishonoring your parents. Let's see what I have. Okay, dishonoring your parents. Oh God, first time offense. No, that's not. But if you keep on doing it, there's a law in the Torah that basically says, in a nutshell, I'm just going to paraphrase and ad-lib a little bit and probably add a little to it just to make sense. If you tell your son to go do something, he doesn't do it, you don't kill him at that point, no. But, this is biblical law now, the theocracy law. However, if he keeps on disobeying, and not honoring you, basically rebelling against you, then you drag him to like back in the day, the elders would sit at the city court, or at the gateway of the city if it was a stone city, or maybe at the well. They yik-yacked or talked law and stuff like that. You take the child. Excuse the noise again, I got a plane this time. Anyway, you take the child to the elders, and the elders talk to him, like basically reprimanding him and probably threatening him, telling him what's headed your way if you don't act right. So if he still rebels after all that, then you take him outside and stone him. So do not dishonor your parents. Obey your parents. Now, if they tell you to sin, don't obey them. Okay, that's just a common sense. The Lord is greater than your parents. So, now, number 5 would be striking your parents. You see a lot of kids today on TV, on clips, they strike their parents. I'm like, dang, dude, totally, that's super disrespect. So that is a capital offense. No mercy. That's it. You're done. I'm not talking about like a temper tantrum kid at like 4 years old doesn't know better. I'm not talking about that. But when they're older and know better, just not having a tantrum and throwing their arms around, but actually go up to you and sock you, and beat you or whatever, then they're having problems. Another one is cursing your parents. You must not curse your parents. So all these are capital offense crimes back in the theocracy days. So what that does, it teaches a kid early on, you better respect, and you should respect all parents for that matter. As you can see on top of Leviticus 19. But yeah, you cannot disrespect parents, strike them, or curse them. And so it brings more of a holy, respectful society, okay? But we're lacking today. Fathers are not there for their kids, and the kids are whatever, and they start bad-mouthing parents even when they are there because of lame videos now and movies and stuff like that. They're just trained wrong. So if your kids are getting bad influence, you need to nip it at the bud. If you want the respect, now if you want the respect, all the junk has to go away. You have to nip it at the bud who they hang around with. So it all starts with the parent. So next one is the obvious one. This is a capital offense. If you commit murder, you shall die. Period of all period. Okay? Hold on. A few more minutes. Okay. There's no peace around here. All right. So you must not commit murder, and those who commit murder shall die. And that is the capital offense. That's a capital offense. Not to let the taxpayers let them rot in jail. None of that. That is, you take them out when the court deal is all over with. You head them out and stone them, or whatever the judgment is. Okay. The other one is now number 8. Is you must not commit adultery. Okay, adultery is a capital offense. However, it's not American version of adultery. Okay, out here, adultery is based on the status of either the man or the woman. But in biblical law, in biblical scripture, adultery is 100% strictly based on the status of the woman. Is she married or not? Not whether the guy is married or not. That has nothing to do with anything. Okay? Why? The reason why is, just messed it up. The reason why is a man, because in our culture, our ancient culture, even today in Sephardic Jewry, in Judaism, and in the Sephardic version, not the Ashkenazic version. Now the Ashkenazic just ended polygamy like a few good years ago in the 10th century, but the Sephardic still does polygamy. So you could see Jewish families, Jewish people in like Yemen, they have several wives, and biblical law allows that. Okay, so the status is based on it's all based on the status of the woman, whether she's married or not, because a man could have more than one wife. So if she's married and if she sleeps sexually with another married man or a single man, she's guilty of a capital offense, and the guy who sleeps with her, or has sexual union with her. Okay, so that's the other one. Now, just a sidetrack for a minute. If a married man lies and sleeps sexually with a single girl, it's simply fornication, because polygamy was allowed and he is obligated to marry her. Okay, so that's adultery. You must not commit adultery. Now, false testimony. In the 10 Commandments, or 10 sayings, in some Christian versions it says you must not lie or something, or lie not. It's not just talking about lying, it's going out of your way to lie to get somebody in trouble. It says do not bear false testimony against your neighbor. So what that means is basically going to a court and trying to get your neighbor in trouble for something he never did. That's bearing false testimony. And now, how is that a capital offense? Is like, okay, say for example, is regarding something that he was claiming that was stolen that was worth like 50 grand. Well, if it finds out he was bearing false testimony, the dude who is doing the accusing has to pay the victim of all this lying 50 grand. That's that easy. Now you can see where I'm going. If he was lying and it was regarding a capital offense crime, he blah blah blah, he broke Sabbath, I saw him, where he wasn't, then you shall haul him out and you shall execute him, because he was trying to get somebody executed who was an innocent man, and so you shall put away the evil from among you. Okay, so anybody who bears false testimony regarding a capital offense crime, they get put to death. So that's just biblical law. Okay, now so that is the law of the Bible. Now the next one is pretty obvious, and most parents would do this anyway on their own. Is let's just say it says anyone that kidnaps another person shall surely be put to death. Yeah, absolutely. Because you're trying to make either a sex worker out of them. Back then, make them a slave. Haul them off. And go some far off distance, and make a slave out of them to whatever. Excuse me. So anybody who kidnaps another man, that's part of Israel anyway. I say that very precisely. Because when you go to war and take captives, it's not exactly kidnapping per se. Now that was number 10. Number 11 on my list is a sorcerer, one who does magic, trying to do like rituals and stuff like that. All sorcerers are put to death. Now the Bible doesn't get all into all the dark arts like horoscopes, that type of stuff, blah blah blah, and tea leaf reading, palm reading, things like that. That's a big no-no. Witchcraft is a big no-no. Another one, so that's a capital offense, all those. Another one is being a medium. or one who commits necromancy, one who consults a dead person, trying to resurrect their spirit from sleeping. So you see an example of this when King Saul was being not talked to anymore by either a prophet or through dreams. He went to a medium or a necromancer. So the witch of Endor, or the lady from Endor, I believe, she went and conjured up the spirit, woke him up, the prophet Samuel. And it doesn't say he came down, rather why did you wake me up? A spirit came up out of the earth, so because he was asleep. In Jewish doctrine, when you die, you're just sleeping. That's it. Your body rots away, but your spirit still exists. You're just sleeping. There's no dreams, no visions, nothing. You're just like you are sleeping with no dreams. You're just dead to yourself and everybody else. Okay, and so the theology is that in the last day, or eventually in the future, you get resurrected. So anyway, all mediums, even like the medium who Saul visited, said, hey, haven't you heard? I can't do this, blah, blah, blah. She didn't realize it was King Saul there. But anyway, she knew she'd get in trouble if she exposed herself or admitted to it. But so the next one is if you are a homosexual. Now this is going to conjure up a whole bunch of stuff, but biblical theocratic law is if you are a homosexual. Now it doesn't mention females there because it's probably just, they're just writing it down, didn't even think about it. But if a male has sexual relations with a male, those two are executed. That's a capital offense. Now the same goes for a female and a female. Same thing. That's homosexuality. So no, you cannot do that. So it's considered a perversion. Okay. Now the next one, that's how easy it is. That's just right there in Leviticus 18 and chapter 20 as well. See what else. I have number 14. On the testimony of 2 or 3 or more witnesses shall a person only be found guilty of a capital offense, but not upon the testimony of just one person. So it can't just be some random guy, one single guy accusing, giving testimony, oh, he broke the Shabbat or he has an idol. No, it has to be 2 or more witnesses, just so you avoid potential false testimony, things like that. So let's see what's next. That was number 14. That was not a capital capital offense, but it helps prevent from capital offenses taking place, guilty. So 15 on my list is if a man has sexual relations with a woman and also her daughter, whether together at the same time, like a threesome, or separately. It says they shall be burned alive in the fire, just be burned and done away with. So that is like one of the most serious ones, apparently, because that's like the worst one. It's the only one that we know of where you burn them all up. Who cares? So that's a capital offense. And you hear this once in a while in American society. In fact, I know a guy personally, when I was in the flea market business, a guy admitted to it. He started going down to these girly bars and blah, 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 met up with this one lady. Then eventually the daughter hooked up with him at the same, I don't know if he mentioned the same time, but, at least at separate times. So I'm like, oh, you're out. You'd be worthy of a capital offense back in the day. So there's that one. Number 16 is if a person has sexual relations with an animal. The person and the animal shall be stoned to death. Now you'll see sometimes, every once in a while, hear about it, a woman like being turned on, I'm sorry, be frank, but turned on by their farm animals, whether a horse or donkey, oh my, like that. And that's a big no. Or you hear even stories, you probably heard them too, where lonely Muslim boys will be with their goat, and so you get the stereotype. Whether it's true or not, I don't know, but if that would be the case, the guy and the goat would be done, so that's it. Now, here's another one. This is number 18. The sun's going down. But if a person owns livestock or animals such as oxen, and it has been known and reported that one of them is prone to pushing with his horns or is aggressive with his horns, where am I at? Or he is aggressive with his horns and poses a threat or danger, if the owner has been warned but fails to shut him in, and then the ox or animal kills a free person. I said free for a reason, because we had slaves back then. In fact, every society did. But so if he kills a free person, the owner and the animal shall be put to death. Now, if it's simply a slave, and I don't mean to slam this or sound evil, I'm just stating the facts of the biblical text. If it's a slave, you pay the owner of the slave 30 shekels of silver. That's the value of a slave, okay? And that's just how it is. So, but if it kills any free person, you put to death the owner and the animal, okay? So how would you do this in, now we, not evolved, but time went on, how would you add to this? Well, the same goes for pit bulls, Rottweilers, or some dog, because sometimes you'll hear about an animal killing some poor kid, or like that'd be a dog, but sometimes someone will have like a pet monkey, and that will cause serious damage and they die as a result. Or like circus people, they own like elephants and tigers and stuff, so you really got to watch yourself, blah blah blah. Anyway, moving on, number 19 in this list here. If anyone draws nigh unto the sanctuary, or later on the holy temple, but back then in Moses' day it was the tabernacle, of those who are not allowed to be there, or in a certain area where it becomes more holier, and they shall be put to death. That's it. You're out. No questions asked. That's forbidden zone. So just that simple. And then number 20, the person that curses a judge shall be put to death, like a Supreme Court judge, or even a little small town judge. You shall put them to death. You don't curse judges. You may not agree with it, you might state your case, but what he says is what he says. So cannot curse a judge. Number 21, if a daughter of a priest has sexual relations outside of marriage, and it happens more than once, it kind of way the wording is, it makes it seem like she's fooling around a lot, or many times, if it's not a lot, but enough anyway. So if it happens more than once, you shall stone her to death. Why? Because the priest is the example for the society, and if her daughter is not setting the same example or walking in the footsteps of a holy priest, then you do away with her. That's it. End of story. That's the theocracy for it. So that's what I'm saying. Anybody who thinks Islam is strict, just wait till the Mashiach comes, because the Mashiach will enforce the Mosaic law. So there you go. So number 22, it says, now this is interesting, okay? Now in modern times, people will argue the abortion thing and say abortion is murder, it's in the Bible. Well, murder is, but not all these types of scenarios. So how would you get abortion out of the Torah when the word didn't exist? Okay, so let's look at this one right here, and you can glean from it and add an oral law, a kosher, godly oral law tacked onto this. And that is this one, number 22. If two men are fighting and the wife or daughter of one of the men, let me reread it. If two men are fighting and the wife or daughter of one of the men comes and tries to help, yet she is pregnant, if the man of the opposite party strikes the pregnant woman, a cog, strikes the pregnant woman, and then she goes into premature labor. If the child comes out fine, like he's fine health-wise, just came out premature. If the child comes out fine, then the man that struck her shall pay a fine, whatever the fine would be, whatever the judge gives upon him or fines him with. If, however, the child comes out injured, then you shall do to him as what he done to the child, like a broken arm for a broken arm, an eye for an eye, and so forth. Now, if the child comes out lifeless or stillborn, you shall and must stone him to death. You kill him because he took the child, and so you take his life. So this tells you if a person who strikes a pregnant woman gets put to death, if he hits the pregnant girl, I won't say accidentally, but he hits a pregnant girl and the child dies, how much more so is it a capital offense when a doctor and the woman conspire against the kid to knock him out with abortion? Therefore, abortion is a very strong capital offense. The doctor and the woman are out. That's biblical law for you. Put it into a modern age. And like I said earlier in the video, you are allowed to add to the Mosaic law as long as it complements the Mosaic law. Like it says, if there comes a situation that's too tough for the judges, come to the whatever. So as somebody who studies this stuff all the time, that would be the judgment of it. The doctor and the mom are knocked out. Can't do that. So the other one is, if someone makes a vow like Jephthah did, that was a judge way back in the book of Judges, and he made a rash vow. He says, the first thing to greet me when I come back from defeating so-and-so, I will sacrifice unto the Lord. Comes out of the house to greet him. Well, a lot of people probably had like goats for pets, so a goat or sheep would be perfect, but he didn't say it that precisely. So what happened was, it says, was a rash when spoken. You must still fulfill your vow and kill he or she that is required for fulfillment. So Jephthah, because you're not allowed to break your word, once you use the Lord's name, you swear to him. He had to do it, and so she mourned for a good while. Then he sacrificed her, and no one stopped it. So it kind of implies he had to do it. Anyway, a lot of rabbis go, "Oh no, he didn't do it." Yeah, actually he did. And so anyway, blah blah blah. So you don't speak any vows rashly is basically the lesson. Because if you swear in the name of the Lord, you have to keep it. So you just don't swear in the name of the Lord unless you know what you're talking about. So another one is 24. Got two more left. If a person is claiming, here's a big boy one. If somebody is claiming to be a prophet, and you get this all the time in modern days now. I mean, everybody and their cousin is a prophet now. Like Joseph Smith is a prophet. But he wasn't. He was a clown. And anyway, if someone makes a vow, like, go back. I was reading 23 again. 24. If a person is claimed to be a prophet and he or she gives you a sign and that sign does not come to pass, that is a false prophet. They shall be put to death so that he or she leads no one astray. The point is, God forbid, the God of Israel has forbid like going to all these spiritual types and like a medium, a sorcerer, and things like that. He forbid all that. So the only person you could contact was God himself, and the prophet was there for that. Now, if the Lord talked to you through dream, that's one thing, like he did Joseph in Egypt, or as you could read about Saul before he sinned, that's one thing, okay? So you are not allowed to let a fake prophet to live. Another one, the last one to wrap it all up, what I could think of top of my head and stuff, is number 25, which is anyone who does not protect the king shall be put to death. Now, why this is brought up, it's kind of like what was handed down in the book of Samuel, one or two, can't remember, and I didn't put it in the footnote, but when David had a chance to kill King Saul when he was always running away from him, and he refused to do it, and I don't know if it's a story where he or his friend took Saul's spear from near his head and just left, and blah blah blah. David screamed out, your buddy there, who's your guard, should be put to death because he didn't guard the king, and I came right to you, and I could have knocked you out. So that right there, and because David was a righteous guy and he knew law himself, you can see that that is a death penalty or capital offense. So these are the laws that I could find throughout the Tanakh, and mostly of them are in the Torah itself, that deal with capital offense in the old days of biblical Judaism, which we're still doing today, but Israel is not practicing the biblical text. They're secular, but if they want to be Torah observant and be the holy theocracy they used to be, this is how the laws would be. And the Messiah, when he comes, he'll reestablish, according to the myth and the legend of the Jewish Messiah, he'll reestablish all these laws. And so he'll be king forever, and he doesn't do away with the law of Moses as the Christians would say. Anyway, that pretty much wraps it. Talked about 40 minutes here. Anyway, please hit the like button and the subscribe button. If you have any questions whatsoever, ask them in the comments, and I'll try to answer them best I can. And but anyway, I appreciate you watching, and thank you very much.